Never know. But when I was in college, the system I had for exams, how I did well in exams, was I gave myself 6 weeks to get something done. And it's interesting because when I look at online courses today and different sort of gurus and mentors and stuff, they'll say you really shouldn't do a course longer than about 12 weeks because after 12 weeks, what happens is people run out of steam. They don't have a momentum. So my focus was study for exams for 6 weeks. And it's probably a good cadence. If you can get the system working, it's probably a pretty good cadence to work from. So I'd spend 6 weeks. And then I'd actually have to do two things. I have to, first of all, I'd say, how many slots have I available per day for 6 weeks? So that might be 4 slots a day, it might be 6 slots a day. I probably had, sometimes I might have like 12 slots a day. I'm working from 11 in the morning, like 8 in the morning till 11 at night because I've got just so much to do, right? But in a reasonable time frame, you know, if you get 4 slots a day, that's 2 in the morning and 2 after lunch. That's your slots. And those slots might be half an hour. Those slots might be 3 hours. It depends on the subject and how much focus you have. So it's fairly lightweight. You might spend 3 hours at it, just doing papers or whatever else. But if something really focused like physics or maths physics or, you know, theorems and, you know, rote learning, I might just do like half an hour of focused, and that's my slot done. So that's on one side. So I've got all my slots on one side. And the other side, I've got how much time till the exam, right? So the time of the exam then is works out what features or what components or what modules or what chapters are possible in the time that's given. So if I work out my slots, let's say I've got 6 weeks, I've got 4 slots a day, I do 5 days a week. That's 20 slots a week for 6 weeks. So 20 times 6 is 120, is that right? So I've got 120 slots. How do I actually divide up that 120 slots into the course, right? So then I take the course and say, okay, the course is like, you know, let's say for the sake of argument, there's 12 modules in it. So I can do 10 courses a week. Then I have to work out, well, what can I do in each of these 10 courses? So if I've got 10 courses a week or 10 modules a week or 10 chapters a week, then I have to figure out what can I do so that I've time for the beginning, middle, and the end. So the beginning might be working out, for me, the beginning would be working out the principles, the structure, the framework. So the way I did that is I'd actually look at the exam papers and I'd walk through each of the exam papers and I'd statistically work out what's the probability of an exam question coming out, right? So I'd look at all of the exam questions and say, well, this falls into this category, this falls into this category, this falls into this category. And then I'd do a spreadsheet and I put ticks after each one. How many times this question came up? How many times this question came up? That type of question come up. So what I get is essentially like a binomial distribution, a curve of the questions that came up the most often down to the questions that came up least. And then I'd start on the ones that came up most often, I'd do those first, and then I'd run down to the ones I did least. So if I ran out of time, the least probable questions are the ones I haven't covered. And of course, I can never follow a plan to the T, right? What's the thing that Sun Tzu said in The Art of War? I find plans useless, but the planning process invaluable. And the process comes down to recognizing that if you actually do, you know, Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule, the 20% of the stuff you covered first is probably going to give you 80% of the marks. So then the rest is how do you get back that last? And you don't even have to get 100% to do good in an exam. You only have to get like 3/4 of the stuff right and then guess some of the stuff and you're probably going to do really well. So my process then was mapping the amount of slots I have to the most likely questions that came up, and mapping those across, and then actually putting in the discipline, the structure, the plan. Every day I start at 8, start at 11, start at 2, start at 5, or, you know, when I was in college, I had a lot more slots than that. But so I was explaining all this to my son and how to actually beat the exam system. It says the problem, exams are not about how intelligent you are. They're not about how much you know. It's not about knowledge. It's about understanding the system that the exams are designed to test. And they're designed to say, are you familiar with this concept and the underlying pattern of the concept? So in English, a lot of the concept is like, they've got these different sort of rules like question, I forget what it is, question, example, I forget what it is. There's 3 words they use. So discuss, explain, prove, or something. There's some three points, I forget where they are. But what it comes down to, do the students understand the principles of creating an argument in English? Right? But once you understand the principle, then it's just a matter of actually writing down some bullet points and saying, here's my case, here's my argument for the case, and here's the discussion of the proof of it. And And that comes down to everything in life. If you understand the principles behind the systems, all you have to do is understand the principles and apply that to the actual content or the idea or the formula or the topic area. And that's all I did. So I used to come out. I remember one girl, I was telling you before, I never attended my chemistry lectures in college at all. Right? Never. I think I went to the first two, and the lecture was so bad. And it was just like, all it was rote learning. It's like, oh my God, this is like, oh, kill me now. Like, it was so bad. So what I did is when we finished the course 6 weeks before the exam, I got one of the girls who was in the class who had really nice handwriting, very important, really nice handwriting, says, can I make a photocopy of your notes? So I spent like 40 quid just photocopying all her notes, spent like 4 hours photocopying notes. And then sat down and they applied the system to her notes, and I got like just short of, I got a B in chemistry, and she got a D, right? But she had, because she spent so much time structuring her notes, she never learned the bloody things. Whereas I had only 6 weeks, so what I had to do is figure out what's the system in the lecture giving the notes. I was looking for the patterns, like what's he putting focus on, where are the underlines, where is he spending more time on a subject than others. That's probably the subject that's actually going to come up. And then you look at the exam paper, say, oh, that is the one that comes up, that's definitely going to come. So once you figure out what the exam paper is like, it's easier to pass the exams. So exams is not about intelligence or knowledge, it's about understanding the system that the exam is trying to test.
Yeah.
So that's my nugget for today.